So I just got my hands on this new fast-paced action roguelike, and I got to say, it's pretty good. Windblown is a masterful combination of fast movement speed, weapon combos, and that sweet RNG. There's a lot of good going for this game, especially some fresh mechanics such as weapon abilities called alter attacks that gives massive amount of possibilities in creating powerful builds. But before we get into all of that, I think it's best for me to set the stage for you and tell you what Windblown is all about. As the player, you take control of a Leaper, a creature with the ability to return from the dead. With each expedition into the dangerous vortex comes new gear and progression. But of course, would this be a roguelike without many deaths? I think not. The main thing that stands out when you start your first run is how fantastic the atmosphere feels. The color palette and the sound design really makes for a cool place to be when you're just venturing deeper into the vortex. And despite how amazing this art design is, it is not long until it takes a backseat to the intense combat in the game. With the use of weapons, abilities, and fast movement speed, you're forced to be locked in as the enemies attack and move just as quickly as you do. Throughout a run, you will come across many of these enemy encounters, as well as loot chests and boss fights. None of which these things are really surprising for a roguelike, but it's how these features are presented that really gives a unique feeling to the gameplay. Each of these battles are going to take place on tight platforms, which are pieced together by many smaller segments. This really allows the game to highlight one of its main mechanics, which is the movement speed. Aside from using this speed to dash and avoid enemy attacks, the use of dashing for traversal is something unlike anything I've ever experienced in any other roguelike. Even though each encounter takes place on bite-sized areas of the biome, the traversal across the multitude of platforms gives a good sense of how large and sprawling this world is, which is not usually the case for other games filled with so many small arena-like encounters. But as I said earlier, despite how great the environment feels, none of it matters if the combat is boring. Thank God this is not the case for Windblown. Similar to combat in most roguelikes, you will be heavily reliant on your build, which revolves around a set of 2 weapons and 2 trinkets. Trinkets being powerful cooldown base abilities. But what's going to really make your build shine is your ability to choose 2 weapons that really just complement each other. The game does not feature the traditional weapon swap mechanic. Each weapon is going to be assigned a different button, which allows for really seamless transitions between weapon attacks. There's something just so satisfying about using one weapon's leap attack and immediately going into an attack combo with your other weapon. But the truly unique weapon mechanic here is the alter attacks. Every weapon has a powerful ultimate attack, but this can only be activated by achieving a threshold with your alternate weapon. For instance, completing a 3-move combo with the fish knife will allow you to activate your other weapon's alter attack. This gives tremendous variety to build choice. Since each weapon has a unique alter attack as well as a unique activation criteria, testing the synergies for the different weapon combinations just adds another layer of depth to this combat. Now, upgrades are also going to play a huge role in your character's strengths in the form of memories and boosts. While boosts are minor buffs in stats such as damage and attack speed, memories are going to be your build-defining upgrades. These will tweak the fundamentals of gameplay, such as marking an enemy every 3 seconds for huge amounts of damage. Now, when you finally fall to your enemies again and again, you will return back to the settlement. Here is where a lot of the meta progression is going to take place. You will be able to spend currency at vendors to unlock more gear to help you make it further in future runs, as well as having the ability to continuously develop the settlement itself and add even more vendors and more mechanics. In my opinion, Windblown is the token early access game. But what really matters is that the gameplay loop is solid, the game is bringing some new ideas and mechanics to the table, and the content that is available is polished. And it does all of this. The game has just entered early access, and I'm curious what your initial thoughts are, because even though these are my initial impressions of the game, I'm already looking forward to what's coming next for Windblown. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I appreciate you for sticking around, and thanks for watching.